Good evening and welcome to the Union Baptist Church of Arlington, Pennsylvania, led by Christ Children and Youth Ministry panel discussion under the moderator, Pastor Shanise, pastor of preaching right here at Union Baptist Church. We also want to thank our senior pastor, Pastor Benjamin T. Haley, for giving us this platform where we can share openly, we can share honestly, and we can share confidently. So sit back, relax, as Pastor Shanise take our youth through this panel discussion.
Amen. Thank you for this opportunity, Pastor Knox and Pastor Ben. I'm excited about this discussion. I don't know about y'all, but I'm excited about what y'all are going to say. I'm going to try to keep my face straight. Even if y'all make jokes and things like that, I'm gonna try to keep it professional. All right, y'all help me with that. All right. No promises. All right. That's fair. That's fair. So I'm gonna just jump right into something that is relevant to us today, as most of us, from what I can see, presenting as people of color, right, in this country, in America. So we're going to start talking about social injustice, right, when some unfair practices are being carried on in the society. So the first question is, how do I fight back against social injustice as a Christian?
I'll start off. Well, first, my name is Brianna Connor. I go to Executive Education Academy Charter School, and I'm a senior. How do I fight back as a Christian? Well, I would need to come to it as a not harsh standpoint and rather speak to them instead of trying to push something on somebody who's like kind of blind to the fact that they're acting the way that they act.
Okay. So are you saying it more in terms of like a one-on-one and somebody doing something wrong? Okay. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Anybody else?
I'll go next. My name is Siobhan Smith, and I attend school at Kutztown University, and I'm a freshman. And how I look at it is that you can bring it to people's attention with either the use of social media and also take the stance that Brianna mentioned about being peaceful about it and being able to advocate for those who are going through oppression and who are experiencing injustice and being willing to speak up about it. And if you're coming from a Christian standpoint of view, I believe it's important to get into your word and learn more about what God says and his perspective on it so that you can come correct and be beneficial to your community, especially if you're a person of color.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I'll go.
All right.
So first, I'm Made Conover. I attend Louis C. Thayer High School, and I'm a senior. And first and foremost, I just want to say that, as a Christian, a lot of times we're known to or the stereotype is we push our beliefs onto people disrespectfully, or it's just oh my gosh, you gotta be Christian, oh this. And I feel as though now, in the new generation and the new time that we're living in, like Siobhan said, we should push it through social media, come respectful, because if we're not coming through it on a respectful standpoint, it's everything that we're trying to push into somebody is irrelevant. It's we're contradicting ourselves. So I feel as though we need to come respectful and come through social media and, yeah.
From what I'm hearing, everyone's saying do it in a respectful way. So how do we handle it when people are disrespectful? Because there are internet trolls. That's the thing.
My thing is for me, I'm very nonchalant. I don't care. So you can yell at me as much as you want. I'm still gonna come to you. My mom always says, kill them with kindness. No matter how loud you get, no matter rah, you can come at me as hard as you want. I'm gonna hit you with facts. I'm gonna hit you with things you need to know. I'm gonna hit you with the Bible. Because at the end of the day, I'm gonna get my point across. And I don't have to yell. So you can do as you please.
Yeah, and that's great in person. We talked about it on social media. So I don't know about y'all. My block game is pretty strong. So if you're if they're trolling on my post, then what do you do? Do you engage? Do you clap back? What do you do?
You gotta keep your composure. You can't lose your cool or allow what they say to get to you, because everyone has an opinion and everyone has something to say. So you can't give them too much power in what they say. You're gonna expect it, but you can't allow it to get to you.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying. Anybody else want to chime in? Sure.
My name is Latrice Williamson. I go to Executive Education Academy Charter School, and I'm a senior. I think the best way to handle like trolls online or anybody that's like hating is to like keep your identity in mind. Keep like what you represent, especially a Christian. Because you know you don't want to lose yourself and have people view you as a certain way. So.
So how do we as Christians speak out and speak the truth about what's happening since the last election? So we know we have a new president now, glory hallelujah. But I mean, there are a lot of people who still support 45. Like that's a real thing. So how do we handle those types of things? Because there are individuals who out there that may still support that base, still support some of those views. Like I know I have somebody who lives on our street, and during the election, they were waving the Trump flag, right? So, like, how do we handle those things? Even maybe young people who may have parents that feel like that, and you know, start talking noise in class or outside, or how do y'all handle that?
Even though like we know, I mean, very narcissistic views of who they're supporting, but regardless of that, I feel like you still gotta love them at that day. Because like it always comes back to like a lot of people like are not educated and they don't really think through of what they're doing. It's just I feel like a lot of that 45 vote for this. It's just like I don't know. It's just like a brain block. You know, something's not right. You know, I feel like they're so conformed to one thing that they don't want to open up to anything else. So, but I feel like at that point you just gotta love them and just I don't know, just try to teach them as much as you can because you can't argue with people like that. You go nowhere. So you just have to teach them one day at a time.
Right, one day at a time. I'm hearing folks say, love people. I'm hearing folks say, stay true to who you are, be respectful. So can we kind of agree, like those are like the guidelines for how we interact with people? So what would you say is the most pressing social justice issue that you're really kind of thinking about and wanting to, like maybe hoping that you could say more about, or that upsets you the most? Like I know we have a laundry list, but what is one? What would be one that you would say that you really wish you could advocate more about?
The divide in the Black community. I don't feel like we're at a whole at a lot sometimes. Not all the time, just sometimes. Like I know like for social media, I don't know about anybody else. Like I know y'all have TikTok, right? Oh well, John does have TikTok. But half of the panel has TikTok. And it's just like you see like a lot of girls like especially like in the Black community bash each other and call each other ugly. Like it's just weird and like Black male bashing on Black males. It's just weird and like everything is just back and it comes again with colorist thing. Like it's just a lot. Like I don't know. Like for me, I think I said this a while back. Like sometimes being like light skinned in the Black community is uncomfortable because I don't know. I just don't feel like I fit in all the time. I can't relate to a day. Can't relate to the trees. But I still am Black. But they don't. Some people don't see that. It's like she yellow bone, da da da. But they don't like get back to the talking thing. They don't talk to people. It's just she's stuck up, she's like thing or whatever. But that's just how I feel about that part.
Do people really say that to you?
I mean, I've gotten told you don't look Black, you don't act. I mean, I'm like, well, I mean, I'm still Black. Just because my skin white, I mean, I'm not Black.
Right.
Yeah.
So for those who may not know what colorism is, because you mentioned that term, so does anybody want to try to take a stab at explaining what that means? Or not? All right.
Oh, I was gonna take a stab at it.
Okay.
From my understanding, colorism is a way that the similar race or anyone outside of that race looks at a race negatively, and they stigmatize them based on given behaviors or like how they act or how they're perceived. Like, oh, you're half Black, you're not full on Black, so you're not like a part of the whole, or they might be alienated from the group based on their complexion.
That was a great attempt. Yes, ma'am.
Piggybacking off of what Brianna says about the divide between our community and like how she feels like the colorism aspect, I feel like that comes from like being uneducated. And like our race, like we've been perceived as being uneducated for so long. So like it's embarrassing when you see it from your own people. Like they don't understand like how you gonna sit here and scream Black Lives Matter and oh it's not fair, we're this and this, but you don't even educate yourself. So like you know what I'm saying, that's where the divide comes from, because we got people in our community that are us, that are educated, and we have people below us that seem like they're below us because they don't want to educate themselves. But it seems as though those people that educating themselves are the people that have the most to say. And that's exactly why we look the way we look. So how can we like get out of this oh Black people are uneducated box if we don't even put in the work to become educated? And I feel as though that's why Brianna feels that way how she feels.
I'm about to agree with her. Piggybacking on what she said.
Is that rare?
Yeah. So like the colorism thing,
Right.
like that's not 2020 new. That's
Right.
19 something.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
like you light in your house, you dark in the field. Like
Yeah.
it's just the way. But I feel like we need to shift out of that. Break every chain. You need to break all the cycles. Yeah, you need to break up that cycle. That has to go. Like we can't. I feel like, and that's another thing. Like with like white white people. Yes. Like white people, like their brains are just conditioned from what their ancestors did to feel the way they do against us. So that's why I feel like in the new generation of like white kids who are racist, I feel bad for them because that's the way their brains are conditioned. So I'm not gonna yell at you. Oh, I'm beat you up because you. No, I feel bad for you that you are living like that. I honestly feel bad. So we're gonna sit together and I'm gonna let you understand. And there's a lot of white people who can attest that they were very racist and ignorant at one point, but they talked to somebody who was a person of color and they understood them better. That's the problem. Like we don't talk. We want to fight and yell and get mad because the white people act like this, but this is their nature. Animals have nature, humans have nature. That's their nature. So we can't do nothing. I mean, we can do something about it. We can do something about it. We just have to approach it in a different way than we are now.
Right. So I hear you saying communicating, and really when you are an example of a Christian, if you're an example of an educated person, it can help to enlighten somebody.
Yeah.
It can give them some more insight that will go up against the stereotype. Does anybody else want to join in? Yeah.
One more thing.
Mhm.
I also
That's
feel
good.
like one more thing. I forgot what I was gonna say. What was I talking about? One second.
We were talking about colorism. We were talking about how this is not new. This
Okay.
is coming from history.
I also feel as though everybody, like you said, enlightening someone. Everybody's not ready to be enlightened.
Yeah.
And as a Christian, we have to understand that. When you see somebody who's so ignorant and they feel the type of way, you have your opinion, sometimes you have to just stand back and let them realize. Like you can preach to them, you can tell them, but everybody's not always ready. You have to give people time, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like that's another thing that we have to like advocate for, because everybody's not ready. You came and you found yourself, you found your belief, you found like you understand, you educate yourself. Everybody's not ready for that. Sometimes people are not ready for that until they're in their 30s, 40s. Like you gotta understand that. And that don't mean you gotta maybe you might want to step back from them, but that don't mean you gotta deny them.
Yeah.
Because you know what I'm saying? Like that's not fair. Just maybe keep your distance or be their friend, but everybody's not ready to hear your personal opinion or your beliefs. And people have to realize that. And I feel like we always do not realize that.
Could I? Oh, go ahead, John.
Hi, I'm John. I go to William Allen. I'm a senior. Just to piggyback off what Dave said, I feel like a lot of issues nowadays is, I'm not sure you guys are all familiar with cancel culture, with everything going on now. I feel like as a Christian, as an individual, regardless of where you stand at this point, you should educate yourself, of course, and you should always try to educate other people. But when some people are beyond reasoning, you always have to take a step back and just sit and breathe, because if you just keep trying to fight against all that toxicity, all that hatred, it's gonna infect you, it's gonna hurt you. And like you said, you definitely gotta take a step back and just breathe. Because as much as you want to try to reach all these people, you aren't going to reach all of them. And this issue, like you said, around has gone way back. And it's not just black and white. So the Dominican, Hispanics, it's not just colorism, it's just the fact that as society, as a world, we see white as the default. And because of that, we go at it in that mindset. And it can be hard and just tiring to keep trying to fight against it or try to like keep it up. So it's important that like instead of fighting against it all the time, just like quitting whenever like give up, you're hopeless. Take a minute just to breathe. Be like, I stand for this. These are my points. These are the facts supporting it. You stand for this. These are the things I don't agree with. I don't respect it, but I respect you. And we have to leave it at that sometimes because we can't keep hurting ourselves trying to fix other people. Because in the end, you're just gonna keep hurting the country that you're trying to fight and trying to fix.
So is it, I like what you said, so do we try to fix people? Or do we let them do their thing? Because I like what you were saying earlier.
Well,
We're
we're not the Build-A-Bear factory. We can't fix
That's
people.
good, that's good.
We can't fix people. We can help them, but
Right.
we can't fix them.
Right, okay.
There's a big difference though. Like fixing
Right.
people, I don't even know. Do people fix
But no, sometimes people try to get into that mode of, I'll try to love you enough for the both of us. I'll try to enlighten you. I'll try to help you. I'll try to, do all those things, and they feel they're responsible to almost save that person, to save them from themselves, and then you take on the burden of their transformation, yet they have not invested in their own transformation, their own education at all, and then we take it on. And then when we don't see them changing, then we feel guilty somehow. I mean, the scriptures, it says that Jesus would send the disciples out 2 by 2, and he said, if they don't receive you, they shake the dust off your feet and keep it moving. Yes, ma'am.
I was just gonna piggyback off what he said, like, you can help someone if they're willing to be helped. Don't like force anything, that's.
I just want to comment on that.
Like double dutch.
Just from my experiences, I realized that you can't save people. Like, especially as a believer, we weren't created for us to save. Jesus did that. He came down and saved us from our sins. So we don't have to be a savior to this world because there's already one. And as for believers, we had to take on the role when Jesus gave us that great commandment to go out and preach and bring the gospel to people. We had to just go out and reach people where they're at and understand that based on how we live our life, that's how people will know, that's how people can get encouraged. Because if I'm telling you to love one another and to be peaceful with one another, if you see me yelling in the street, cursing people out, are you gonna believe in what I say or like recognize what I'm trying to tell you? No. You're gonna push me to the wayside and keep living the way you're living, because if I can't live right, how am I gonna expect change from people? So you have to be that representation of change through your actions and the way you live.
All right, thank you. She had her hand up and then.
Yeah, I just wanted to emphasize, I just want to remember and emphasize what John said. At some point, you can have a conversation with that individual or multiple people and say, again, I don't respect what you're saying, but I respect you. And I really that was a really good line. I'm gonna use that.
That's good. Great argument on that. I just wanted to piggyback off what you both said, because I feel like you said, we're not here on this planet to save other people. As human beings, we're social creatures. We're meant to just have conversations with them. And a conversation isn't just you yelling at someone or you just blocking them out. It's a back and forth. It's me talking to you, me looking at you, and you looking at me, me talking back to you. It's having that time to just set aside and just listen and talk, not yell and argue. Like before we started this, they talked about being passionate and not combative. And I feel that's something we really mix up nowadays, because when we're trying to get our point across, a lot of people, they do have a lot of good things to say. They do have a lot of facts and points that value them, but they're just so tired and just so angry with everything that they take that route because it's easier. It's easier to fall into that habit of just screaming and being mad. If you really want to see change, we need to sit back and just listen and talk. I feel like nowadays, what we're going through, it's not new. We've had this before in the past. We've had giant transformations and everything. Like, for example, in the 60s, with the civil rights movement, the LGBT movement, the women's rights movements, those brought a lot of change. Not because a lot of people, like Brown said, they were united. We're not united now. Each community is different, fighting for their own thing. But in reality, we need to sit down, talk to each other, and actually work on solutions one at a time. Because only united we're ever going to see anything change. But if we're just yelling at each other or not united, we're just gonna keep seeing the same issues repeat itself again and again.
Right. And I think that's a really good place to stop right there and shift into another topic. But you talked about being able to kind of shift, and that's been a kind of a theme even for our worship service today, about shifting out of cycles and different things that might be harmful or toxic. So I'm gonna ask a relationship question. Dun, dun, dun. So, this is for anyone who may have experienced this or someone that you may know, or you can kind of give your opinion on this. So, how would you suggest that someone escape from an abusive relationship? Toxic cycle.
Well, for me,
We can, you don't have to tell names.
Yeah.
Just, okay. To protect the innocent.
okay. Well, how would I get out of that? Well, I'm running to my dad. I don't feel like I would have, what's that thing, Stockholm Syndrome, where you just don't tell nobody? I don't think I'll have that. I feel like for me, or like, yeah, I would just have to tell somebody, because it's just like, I couldn't keep demeaning myself by letting somebody do that to me. That's like me losing my character at that point, because I'm not knowing my worth. Like, that's just down bad. Like, that's bad. I would just have to get out of there. And I would pray for that individual that's doing that, because that's just sickening. That's bad.
I just, to speak to that situation, you mentioned something about knowing your worth. And I think that's very important, because once you realize like your worth, realizing that you don't have to go through what you're going through, you don't deserve that treatment, you'll be more willing to like speak up and tell somebody and get the right help that you need. Because some people who are going through this, some people that I spoke to that went through this before, it's like they feel like they're alone and they don't feel like they can go to anybody about the pain that they're feeling, and they feel like it's their responsibility to love that person even though they're mistreating them. And it's good to have someone who you know you can talk to get an outside view or take on the matter, so you're not going through it by yourself. Because there is someone, if anybody's going through this, there is someone who's willing to help you, someone who's willing to speak into your situation and change your circumstance.
I want to ask something just real quick. And a lot of people, like, when they hear abuse, they think like hitting people.
Right.
Verbal abuse is like so, like, people are, like, a lot of girls and like our generation are so blind to that. They do not realize that the way that your boyfriend talks to you is not respectful, but he adds "I love you" after the paragraph, and you think that it's okay. I don't think that him calling you an idiot and then backing it up with "I love you" is a relationship or how you should speak to somebody. Because if the favor was returned, he'd be mad. Okay, that's verbal abuse. You don't talk to people like that. That's why I feel like a lot of girls in our generation, like, they don't know their worth. I feel like us three, we know our worth. We really do. Like, honestly, we do. But it's hard in this generation to know who you are when you have social media, you have people at school, you have your friend group demeaning you every day because what you do doesn't suit fit for society. So it's very hard to know who you are as a person. So I don't know. I just feel like, I'm not gonna say names, but I know people who are in relationships like that, and they be reading me the text messages thinking that I'm gonna be like, girl, he still loves you. Like, really? Are you really gonna sit here and talk to you like that?
And I feel like, did you have to say something before we, go ahead.
Just to add, I think a way that you like can get out of an abusive relationship is like when you realize that you're in the relationship more for the other person and like not yourself. Like you realize like you're downgrading yourself just for the other person.
Piggybacking off of everything Brianna said, and I feel like they like to label it as toxic in this generation, and I feel like that's not cute. Like, what?
That's not cute at all.
they think it's toxic. Oh yeah, I want somebody toxic. That's not even it. But I feel as though now this abuse situation is starting to stem down younger and younger. Oh, the mic. Younger and younger. And it's like, yeah, people, like, it's crazy how, like, and abusers is not just men, but speaking as a female. Like, men, a lot of men, and it's a lot of men that don't see God. And there's also a lot of men that do see God, that be sitting in the church saying amen, amen, but sitting at home putting the piece on their wife. But anyways, they're master manipulators. And speaking, like, I'm young, so I can't even, and a lot of young people do go through this, I can't even speak on how I would really get out of it because I haven't experienced it. And I know, like, with that master manipulation, it's like, sometimes you can't even see yourself. And a lot of abusers, they try to, like, take you out from the world. They take you from the world, and then it's like, the only person you have is your abuser. So when they're beating on you, or they're verbally assaulting you and stuff, and then they, like she said, finishes it with "I love you," it's like, oh well, I remember you did do this for me one day. I remember you did do this for me. So he's not all bad, you know. He's just mad right now, or she. So I feel as though, yeah, it's a manipulation tactic, and it's hard to speak on. It's hard to speak from the outside because I do know, like, and it's sad that I do know people that's my age that go through stuff like this. And it's like I be like, one of my close friends, I tell her, like, you can do so much better. But it's not about telling her, because she has to really understand that. And the only person that can get her to realize that is herself. So it's all, yes, there's all this help out, but they feel as though, oh well, when I was crying, when I failed that test, or when I was going through stuff at home, the only person that was going to hear me cry was that master manipulator. And they know what they're doing. So it's hard to really tell somebody, oh, I can help you out, because they don't feel like that. They don't feel like that. They've been so brainwashed to, it's like, can you really help me out? Because you wasn't there when I was crying about that test.
Back to that manipulation thing, like, somebody I know, their whole mindset changed from one person. And I see it, like, even talking to them a couple days ago, I was just like, it was just so mind blowing. Like, it was crazy because, like, it's weird because, like, even when I tried to tell that person that the other person's like doing bad, the person defends the manipulator. Yeah. It's like when you see it in, like, movies with, like, evil Knievel people and they sidekicks. It's just like, you're not gonna talk. It's like their idol this type of way. Like, you can't disrespect my master, which is weird. You're in a relationship. That's two, not one. And then a sidekick is two people. It's just crazy how somebody can do that, and especially at a young age, like, not even our age, like 13, 12, 11, like, and not even only for boys, there's girls that do that too. Yeah. Very manipulative. Like, I know we don't speak about it, but there's a lot of females that are very manipulative. Like, very.
I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of, when people bring up the whole topic of, like, abusive relationships, they, like, jump straight to, like, oh, men abusing the women. Yeah. It is not just that. It's people. It's human in general. Men abuse men abuse women, women abuse men, women abuse women. It goes both ways. And a lot of people, they think of abuse as just, like, physical. Like you guys said, it goes a lot deeper. Yeah. Verbal abuse, financial abuse, they cut you off from your people, mental abuse. You have to, when you're in a relationship, not only do you have to, like, think of yourself as, like, I am this person, this is my worth, but I feel like, my point of view, you do a little bit of research. Find out the different types of abuse there are out there. Just find a way to, like, how you can combat or, like, identify it. That way you won't find yourself in that situation. But if you do, you should always remember that no matter how alone you feel, no matter what they may have done for you, there are other people out there, even strangers, that will be there to pick up the phone for you when you need the help. There are hotlines, there are people out there, churches, there are organizations, there are thousands and thousands of people that have gone through what you've gone through and have survived it, and you can too. Right. You just have to be willing to take the first step to ask for help, or at least be really, really willing to realize that this is not okay and I deserve better.
Right. A lot of that, sorry, this whole thing is mind-blowing to me. A lot of, and, like, I know some girls, like, they have, some girls and guys, they have fathers in their life, but sometimes their fathers, just because you're there, don't mean that you have a good mentality for your children when they go out in the world. You can be there for me, you can find me what you want, but the way you act is how I'm gonna pick another man that's gonna act just like you. Right. So that's why I feel like, you're a dad, but are you really a dad? You know what I mean? Like, if there's another guy like my dad on the street, I would snatch him up because him and my mom are just great. Great.
Yeah.
Like, you really attract men that are like your father. And it's crazy because, stepping back to my person I know, whatever, her dad is very much a representation of the people that she's around.
Right.
Which is very, I don't know.
That was the example or the pattern that they were exposed to.
Mhm.
And I want to go back to what we talked about, the different type of abuse that we mentioned. We talked about financial. That can happen when they begin to kind of fund your lifestyle, you know, or if we get a little older and we're living together and now I can't envision my life without you because you pay half this rent, you know? So now I'm feeling, no, this is real talk. You feeling like the job I have pays for half this rent. If I break up with you, then my credit gonna be shot because we gotta get up this lease, and then I gotta find somewhere else to go, and then I'm gonna have to stay home with my parents, and I don't wanna go back because I just got out on my own. You know, all of those things, and then all of our friends are the same, and so then who's gonna be my friend still? Are they gonna pick his side or are they gonna pick her side? I mean, it's a whole world ecosystem that's built around this relationship. And when you talk about master manipulators, those situations often happen when we don't have a support system. And I'm not saying that the situation is always like that, but wolves pick on people who are prey that are not with the pack.
Yeah.
Those who are straddling back, that look weak. Because they're not going to go after somebody that's strong. Because they know that they can't get you. So sometimes we as individuals who may feel stronger don't understand it because we've always walked in an area of strength. But if you've ever had a season where you felt weak, that's how people get picked off. They go for people who don't have a strong self-esteem. They go for people who don't have maybe parents or faith leaders or somebody that's talking in their ear saying, you don't have to put up with that. So all of that happens, and then really it's gaslighting.
Yeah.
They begin to treat you like you the one crazy when you speak up against that behavior. So I can talk about it because I've been through it. That's what I'm saying. So you get to this point where you feel like, well, maybe I'm tripping. Gaslighting. Gaslighting. But if you don't know that you're worth Christ dying for your sin, let's go back to that as a Christian. If you don't know your worth as a Christian, if you don't know your worth as a female, if you don't know your worth as a young man, then you'll put up with just about anything because you're just so glad that somebody was there for you when you was crying about your test. Because the whole MO is to alienate you. To pull you away from anybody who believes in you, anybody who loves you, anybody who supports you, and then pull you away so then that person becomes your world.
Yeah.
And then and like I said, you can't even, I'm dealing with somebody right now, like you were talking about, that cannot envision a future without that person. And when you have the Holy Ghost on the inside that helps you to envision another future, that helps you to see something else, that something could be different, that something could be better, then you'd be like, you know what, I'm out of here.
I'm gone.
I'm gone. And it doesn't matter to anybody who's listening, it doesn't matter how long you've been in it.
Yeah.
There's still time to get out. As long as you have breath in your body, you still have time to get out. All right, does anybody have a closing word on that? Yes, sir.
There's two things I really want to emphasize. What you said on a date about like toxicity, being like a whole like, ooh, when we're trading, we want to go out to like, oh, that's toxic, that's hot, I want it. What you said, like, especially for like married people that are in like a situation where like they believe like, oh, I have kids, I can't leave, or like all our friends unite, or our family loves him or love her. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Do you still love them? Do you feel safe? Do your kids feel safe? It's about what you want and how you want to live the rest of your life. Is it in fear? Is it in debt to this person? Do you want your kids to grow up in the same relationship as you are currently in? Find a way out, because there are people out there who want to help. Whoa, oh, I don't care. You need to find a way to get out because you are worth more than that. It doesn't matter if you're married or if you're single or if like you're young. You still have time.
And you have to love yourself before you can love anybody else.
Be selfish, boo. Be
Well,
selfish.
It may be hard to love yourself, but it'll take time. You gotta do it.
Yeah, it does take time, and healing is possible. Another question that I wanna, we're gonna kind of stay on the relationship tip, but how do you ever recover from being torn by divorce? So for anybody who might be going through a divorce or their parents are going through a divorce, does anybody want to speak on that?
Well, my parents are not divorced, but I know like a lot of my friends, their parents are divorced, and I know like watching them, like it was hard. Like even for my best friend, like it's very emotional for her, cause it does drain her. She doesn't realize like a lot of stuff that she gets angry about, a lot of things that like she's frustrated. I'm like, that divorces cause trauma. They do cause trauma, like a lot. It's hard to see people that you thought loved each other separate from each other. Cause it's just like, what if that happens to me?
Right.
And it's just very damaging. So, but then it also takes somebody who's like males or females really strong to try and build a foundation with someone else, knowing that their parents just got divorced. So that's very hard. That goes back to the picking who you want to be in a relationship with, because you didn't have a good example of what a relationship was, because your parents weren't there for each other.
So do you think you can pick a good mate if you don't have a good example of it?
Yeah, definitely.
It just makes it harder because it's just an example like, is this what I'm supposed to go after? But it's definitely possible to find someone you could actually love and care for and they'll love and treat you, respect back.
Yeah.
You just have to make sure you pick the right traits, I guess is the right word, you want to follow.
Piggybacking off of that, you're gonna have to go through a whole bunch of people who was wrong before you get to the right.
Yeah.
That's just life in general. You don't always pick a good person. You don't always pick a good first time. I know that for a fact.
Now put that one back.
You know they have like 30-day free trials. I'm like, you don't have to go through some 30-day free trials to get to the premium package.
Come on here.
You don't have to.
For those who are at home
Amen.
watching this, when we're teaching this live, I'm telling you, the people in the room are cracking up. That 30-day free trial, I might have to use that. I'm gonna give you a footnote. That was good.
Trademark that.
Yes, put that on a t-shirt, huh? Wow. That's I'm trying to get it together, but all I want to do is laugh.
Could I add something?
Go ahead, please.
I don't know if we can come from that, but it's true.
Right.
It's like you can still like be in a good relationship even though you had a bad example growing up. You just gotta learn from the mistakes of those who were your example and what you're not gonna do. Cause I'm sure like if someone treated you a certain way and you're like, I don't want to be treated that way, I'm not gonna treat anybody. You know, it's like you're learning from that bad example and turning it into like something good.
Yeah.
Can I emphasize, it's about learning from it. Because I feel like nowadays, this pops in my head, when people are in a bad relationship, they are the idea of being cautious when they go into another one. Oh, I'm not ready yet, or like, no, whatever. It's okay to be cautious, but that doesn't mean you should be scared to keep trying. Because a lot of bad relationships, they scar people very deeply, emotionally and physically, and now make them like give up on love or even trying to get out there. And I feel like it's okay to be cautious, but you shouldn't give up.
Wait, I just want to just add this real quick because my youth pastor told me this, that life is not a dress rehearsal. Like every day you go out, there's gonna be challenges, there's gonna be obstacles. You can't dress up for life because that's not how life works. You gotta each day when something bad happens, you just gotta get back up, even when it's difficult. And that's why it's so important to like have a community and people who are willing to support you and guide you, especially in a Christian setting. You want people who can lead you according to God's will for your life, so you're not led astray.
Back to what John said and what they said earlier about like being toxic and stuff, and then not having like a lot of like, I feel like in relationships now, like they'll break up and then won't give each other time to like reflect on everything and then just get back because they don't like feeling apart from each other. Which is like at this point, like y'all okay? Like it's like you have to heal. Like you can't get a cut and put the Band-Aid on for 2 minutes and just take it off and expect the bruise to just be gone. You have to heal from certain things. You can't, you just need to take time for yourself. And going all the way back from the first situation, you gotta breathe.
Right.
You have to breathe. You need to give yourself time to just reflect on everything. And you need to do a pros and cons list when you get into arguments with people.
Yeah.
Because you going back and forth, I be going back text messages like, another pro right there, another con right there. You gotta go back and forth. And if the cons fail the pros, you gotta take that with, upon yourself and just distract yourself from that situation. It's not gonna damage you if you're not in a relationship with that person. There's other good people out there.
Is there a pressure to be in a relationship?
No, we
Not with
yeah. Let me just correct.
Like generation-wise?
Wait,
yes. They love that. Social
Yeah.
media eats that up. If you're not a mood picture, you're whack. I'm just gonna put that out there.
I've been whacked for a real long time.
Yeah, and I don't
Say
mind.
that again?
I've been whacked for a real long time.
I don't mind being whacked. Like social media glorifies relationships. That's why like when people here's like this biggest thing. Like everybody, you guys follow the Shade Room on Instagram? The Shade Room. It's like these celebrities, these YouTubers, they're all publicly putting their relationship out there, and they don't want any of their fans, social media people to say nothing, so they just get back together, not knowing y'all just had a big argument and he just hit you, but you're gonna go back together because social media doesn't want to see y'all apart. Like y'all know De'Ara Ken, celebrity. He cheated on that girl about 15 sometimes, but social media glorifies it so they don't want to leave each other. They got a YouTube channel, nice house, nice car,
They making money.
Yeah, they making money off of it.
Because there's money tied to how many followers.
Like, social media is a profit.
They is rich.
Yeah.
Like, being in a relationship, that's a moneymaker now. If I can get into a fake relationship with you and we make $1,000, we won't even have to talk to each other. We won't even talk to each other. Sleep 2 different beds.
Yeah.
Relationships as a moneymaker. That's the first time I heard that one.
In this generation, money is the root of literally all evil. Like, it just glorifies everything. Relationships, even the justice system. We don't got that. Like, everything.
What were we gonna say, Latrice?
I was just gonna add, like, there is pressure, especially among the youth, like, to be in a relationship, because, like, even in schools, like, everybody's, like, in a relationship, like, couples and all, and, like, it's cool to be in a relationship, and if you're not, you're like,
Yeah.
I just, like, for me personally, I can speak to that because, like, being a young adult and seeing your friends in relationships, like, it gets to you at times because you see all that affection and you're like, what's wrong with me? Like, I don't see anything wrong with me, and you just see the relationship. But it's also a time, like, for reflection for yourself too. And it's okay to be single. Like, I look at singleness as a time of dating yourself, a time that you can get to know who you truly are, so that when you get in a relationship, because when you get in a relationship, you're bringing whatever baggages you have going on in your life into that relationship. So if you don't check yourself, you about to bleed on a whole lot of people. So you gotta be careful when you enter relationships because you got stuff that you're carrying into the relationship, people got stuff that they're carrying. And I wanna go back to what John said. You don't have to be, don't be too cautious to the point that you're just like cooped up saying, no, I'm by myself. Nah, I'm sure. You wanna be able to experience life, be able to meet people, and it doesn't always have to be about relationships. You can just develop good friendships, have conversations with people and learn how people are, so that when it comes time to pick and choose who you're gonna spend the rest of your life with, you know what you want.
Right.
That's important.
We talked about traits because it's easy to get caught up in a type, but if that type is not working for you, then you got to do the pros and cons list, right? We need to reflect on that and then think about, the patterns that you might have been exposed to, and then if those weren't great patterns, then maybe we need to do the opposite of that. But you guys brought up a really great point, which is going to segue to probably our kind of concluding questions before we wrap up today. You guys really talked about social media and how relationships are, great food or great clickbait for social media, right?
Yeah.
So basically, so with millions of online distractions and temptations, how do we browse social media as a responsible Christian? So how do we engage responsible Christian?
You wanna go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. Okay, so how do we, there's a lot of answers to this question.
Because there's a lot of wild things out there. So.
Yeah, I feel like, I think you said it, or one of you said it. It's like, I think it was you. You have to, the way you are outside is how you have to act on social media. You know what I mean? Like be you. Don't be different people. Like, you're not split. Don't be different people. Be you. And I feel like nothing with the peer pressure thing. Just because society is doing it doesn't mean that it's deemed that we have to do that, because that's not who we are as Christians. That's not who we are. So I just feel like at that point, I mean, you just have to. Social media is like a trap.
It is a trap.
Because your algorithms change on the people who you follow,
Yeah.
what you look up, what you speak about throughout the day, who you talk to on the phone, who you FaceTime, who you text.
Yeah.
Your phone is just watching you 24/7.
Have you ever noticed that if you Google something, then all of a sudden you have commercials and
Exactly.
ads for that on your timeline?
And you don't wanna buy the thing, you just wanna see it.
You just wanted to ask a few questions, you know, and then Siri got you caught up. But you made a good point in terms of us being ourselves and being authentic. I think that's kind of what I'm hearing. But how do we handle the things that we see? Because we're talking about what do we, browse, what do we look at? So when things are coming up, do we stay stuck on it? Do we scroll past? How do we engage as a responsible Christian?
So first I just want to say, like you said, it's an honest discussion. So I'm gonna be honest. Like coming into the church, like I only came to the church like 2018, or something like that. Before that, I wasn't going to church like that. I got baptized and all that. But like when I first came to the church, I'm not gonna lie, my youth pastor was blocked on social media. We'll be honest, Moxie. He was blocked on social media. Everybody, I wasn't even doing anything bad. But I'm just like, I don't even know the standards here, so I didn't even know. I'm a kid. Like I feel like I didn't want to have to filter what I said. So he was blocked everybody. If I knew you from the church, it was blocked. Y'all not blocked anymore, but sorry. I was blocked. Because I felt as though like, how can I didn't want to be judged. Like, I'm a kid, I'm gonna do things, I'm gonna go to parties, and it was just like, dang. You know what I'm saying? So I feel as though a lot of times it's not even like what we have to see and what we have to filter out. It's sometimes we gotta just be true to ourselves and know that we are Christians. So if we go to church on Sunday, we need to be, the whole point of going to church, we need to be putting everything we learning and everything that we're learning in church and everything we're getting out of what the pastor's speaking or what somebody's talking about, and convert that into our everyday lives. And sometimes as youth and people in the church, we don't do that. So I feel as though we need to start being true to ourselves and still understanding that we believe in God at the end of the day. And we need to really execute the things that we learn in church and the things that we learn outside of church that relates to our beliefs. I'm talking fast, I'm sorry. That relates to our beliefs, to put that into our everyday lives.
But in the mic, that's all it is.
So yeah, and then when it comes to what we see, the crazy thing about this word is we can really control what we respond to, what we see. Like you said, you're really heavily on blocking. If you feel as though something you don't like on your social media page, get it off. Yeah, it's easy. 1, 2, 3 block. I think it's like 2 buttons. Boom, boom. So I feel like though that's all we can do, because again, we don't have no say on what anybody else does. We can tell them, but you don't have to respect what they're doing, but you gotta respect them no matter who they are. Yeah. So it's simple. Okay, I don't like this. You might be my friend in real life. We might hang out a little bit, but I don't really like what you post on social media, so I'm gonna just remove it. It's not like I remove you as a friend, but I'm removing that.
Right. Yeah. Because birds of a feather flock together. So sometimes if somebody sees the stuff that your friends do, they might think that that's kind of how you feel or how you believe. Yeah. So closing comments. Siobhan.
You got one? Oh, alright. I was just gonna say to piggyback off of what Brianna said and Ade, is that you definitely filter out what you're seeing, especially separate yourself from social media, because certain times you can get so attached to it that it becomes you. And it's so important to realize that social media is just something that takes place online. but you also have to remember, like, wherever you post or wherever you see, people are going to associate that with you because that's the image that you're painting. And if you don't like that image and you don't want people to view that way, then it's up to you to make that change. Nobody can tell you who to follow or who to unfollow. Only you can make that call.
Yeah, that's true.
Last comment. So, piggybacking off what Siobhan said, that's not even social media. That's like off social media too. Like people are gonna judge you, but you just gotta prove them wrong and be true to who you are. Like you said, be authentic, be who you are. Like not even like you can block people in real life. Nope, I don't talk to you. Let's just let's just part our ways. We don't have to be in cahoots with each other. We don't have to talk to each other. And that's what like the remover friend, like people get mad sometimes. Like we don't have to. I'm not gonna be friends with everybody. We don't have to communicate. But it's just the simple fact that you know who you want to be around. You know who's gonna be in your life, and that's just that.
Be yourself. I want to thank y'all for such a great dialogue. This has just really given me life for the rest of my afternoon. I'm really excited. So thank you to Brianna, Latrice, John, Siobhan, and Ade. We thank you so much for this conversation, and Pastor Knoxley, thank you so much for allowing us to share. And we hope that all of the youth, everyone who watches this panel discussion, we hope that you have learned something. I'm pretty sure that there will be plenty of off-camera conversations after we even stop. So go ahead and continue to have these conversations. If this is going to go on social media, then feel free to engage in the chat and in conversation, and we're gonna stay authentic even in the chat, right?
Yeah.
Don't get blocked. That's the word. Don't get blocked. Yes, indeed. And thank you again to Pastor Ben for allowing us to have this platform. We thank you and we love you. God bless you.
Peace.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.